All right, so on to item number 3, the Socrative Overview. And that, I should say, I heard people walking by and saying Socrative, Socrative, Socrative. There's many different ways that people say it, and even the company says there's really not one specific way to say it. The name came from the Socrative method of teaching and learning from many, many years ago. So Socrative is the most commonly known term to explain the name of it. Socrative is the way that you'll hear me say it, but it's not incorrect if you say it a different way. I'd just like to point that out because we hear all sorts of names when people refer to it. So BYOD, how many of you have BYOD in your schools, acceptable, where students are allowed to bring in their devices? All right, how many have the opposite of that, where they are banned and blocked? All right, I always get a mix of both in the room. So if you are in the boat where they're banned and blocked, hopefully you have devices that the district owns, okay, that the students can use. So either way, a child has a device, be it a smartphone or a tablet or a Chromebook or a traditional laptop or even a desktop computer. Even an e-reader could work. If it can get on the web and can go onto a website, it's a fair game to work with Socrative. So I have, when I did this as a 7th and 8th grade teacher, I had a mix. We had district iPad minis to lend out. Half the class or so would have that. But if the children had their own phone, they'd prefer to use that. So I'd let them go to the locker, get their phone, and use it on a day where we were going to be doing our game show events. So any device that has a browser works. If you're using an Apple device, it tends to be Safari. The built-in browser works better. For some reason, Chrome doesn't always work right when it comes to typing things in. So that's the one little caveat there, is if you're using Apple devices, go with Safari as your browser. But otherwise, I prefer using the Chrome browser on whatever device you are using. So we're going to do an intro quiz right now that we're going to run. And as you can see in my outline, I have it highlighted in yellow there. That is a Socrative, you could call it a serial number, if you will. It's a link that anybody could use, the SOC number, if you want to copy my quiz. You might say, oh, I like the format, I like the pictures you did, but I'm going to tweak the questions a little bit. You can take that number, plug it into your Socrative account, and now you instantly have my event with all my questions and pictures and everything there. And that makes it easier than just starting from scratch. There are communities you can find online where people just have spreadsheets full of stuff. If you're a math teacher in 8th grade, you can find a math section where hundreds and maybe even thousands of Socrative quizzes have been created, and people publicly share them. So the whole idea is we don't want you to always start from scratch. You might be able to take something that someone else has created and then tweak it a little bit to fit just the needs of your classroom. So let's go to, I'm going to show you what it looks like here now, going to Socrative as a teacher. And in a little bit, I'll give you some time to create your own account if you don't have one yet. Everybody, whether you're a teacher or a student, goes to this page, Socrative.com. And in the right-hand side, they have the 2 buttons for either a student login or a teacher login. So I will go for the teacher login at this point. Now I must have done this, I think I got in yesterday. So it remembers your credentials if you've gone in recently. So that's why I wasn't prompted to put in my information. But if not, it would ask you for the typical username and password that you'd see on many other sites. So now that I am in, I'm going to launch a quiz I've created in advance. Now today I'll be showing you things I've created in advance and things that I'm just going to use on the fly, where no prep is needed at all. So we'll cover both sides of the coin there. I'm going to start a quiz, and the one I'm going to choose is my intro quiz for Digital Wave. Now I have some options here, and I want to check which way was I going to do this. I'm going to do it teacher paced, meaning I'm going to lead us through one by one each question. We're all going to be on the same page, just so that I can elaborate on each question and kind of gather what's happening in the audience. The other side of that coin would be me turning it over to you and saying, go for it. And everyone works independently on their own, at their own pace. So you can do both sides, and I'll show you both sides today. But for this one, I'm going to do teacher paced. And notice how this interface looks. It's very blocky because I'm using a mouse on a traditional laptop, but I could be doing this on the small screen of a phone, and they have it optimized so that the buttons are nice and big, so you can, you won't be accidentally touching the wrong thing. So whether it's a small screen of a phone or a tablet or a traditional computer, the interface has been optimized so that you don't have to, touch a very small drop-down box or anything like that. So when I click on Teacher Paced, it says right here a little description of what that means. The teacher controls the flow of these questions. I'm going to send out one question at a time, and we can visualize the results as they are coming in. And if need be, I can skip through questions if I wanted to. Some other optional settings here: disable student usernames. In this case, I don't need to know who's responding in which way, so I won't ask for you to identify yourself. I'm not going to randomize because it's not like we've done this one multiple times. Disable student feedback. trying to remember which one that is, if I want it or don't want it. That one means if it reveals to you the answer. So I don't want you to see, actually I do want you to see the answer, so I'm going to do that. So that you're going to see as soon as you answer if you got it right or wrong, right on the spot. All right, that might not be good if it's a graded situation where you're kind of giving the answer key out, but in this case that'll be okay. And then disable student results. See, I always get these two mixed up. I believe that one means whether you see what you responded with. In other words, you could show it to the screen of another child and they would see what you answered there. So this one I think I will turn off as well. So I'll leave it very wide open, least restrictive if you will. So when I start it now, I got to get you guys into the room. Now when you do this routinely as a teacher, the kids know, oh, you go to Socrative.com, you hit student login. I'm sorry, you go to Socrative.com. Yeah, that's right. The student login in the upper right-hand corner, and then you have to put in the room name. My room name is listed right up at the top here. They do let you, they give you a random one when you first sign up for the service. But as long as the room name you want to customize has not been taken by anybody else out there, and I had this many years ago, so that's why I got a nice short one. But my room name is Rob Z. So right now on your computer, if you haven't done so already, you can open up a new tab and go to the website, which is Socrative.com, Socrative.com, and then upper right-hand corner, you click the button that says Student, and you won't be asked to put in a username or a password. This is meant so that the teacher can get going on it right away and not have to deal with students typing in or forgetting passwords and that kind of thing. So when you get there, which looks like many of you have, you're going to enter in the room name of Rob Z, no spaces, just ROBZ, and then enter, and that should take you right to the first question.
It says enter date, like I feel like this is my name.
Let's see, is it asking for, I may have it set up where it's, yeah.
So put our names.
Yeah. I thought I disabled that, but I guess it may be built into this this test itself. One of the choices you have is collect names. I probably put yes, because I use this with students. So question one, well, before question one, it may ask you to put your name in. And then it looks like you guys, most of you are on question one, which is good. Notice the logo in the upper corner. Go ahead and answer that one. And I can see on my dashboard here that about half of you have answered. And I'm keeping my eyes right over here, so I can generally see if all the class has answered already. Were you guys getting feedback after you answered, if you got it right or wrong? Okay, so that we have turned on so that you can see it, but if this was a graded situation, I might have that turned off so that the students can't look around and say, oh, I didn't answer yet, but you did, and you got it right, so okay, now I'll answer. And that, of course, students can trick the system, game the system a little bit like that if they know it's for a grade. So I can see in this case 8 of 8 have answered. If I click the button here that says, how did we do? Now it reveals on these bar charts here, these graphs, where everybody answered. Looks like most people chose A. And this is a subjective question. This is not objective, meaning there is no right or wrong answer. You don't always have to choose a right answer. It could just be to survey your audience, like this question was. So it looks like the majority of you in the room, this is your first time at this type of conference, so welcome. Some of you have been here a couple of times as well. And that breaks it down by percentages there on the far right-hand side. Now, if there's an explanation, I can drop that down there. Explanations are optional, and then you can have a little bit of feedback that comes, back out as someone responds. So that was our first question. Now that I'm ready to move this all on, being that this is a teacher paste, I'll hit next, and within seconds, you should see on your screen now the next question, number 2. And we're just about there. There we go. Everybody's answered. And that's kind of nice to be able to just watch that number and see how many people have answered. And I should mention too, let's say someone was at a music lesson and they just walked in the door now late. They can join us. They don't have to be excluded from this event because they just do what you all did, which was go to Socrative.com and enter the room number. That's why that's always up there on purpose, top center, so everybody can see it if someone were to just walk in and join up at any time. So now that we have all answered, I can hit the button, how did we do? And we can see in this case it is saying the majority, 88%, are teachers or instructional coaches in the room, with probably 1 or 2 administrators based on the numbers there. It doesn't exactly say how many out of 8 answered one way, because they break it all down by percentages at the end there.
Is there a feature that will allow you to see?
Not with Socrative, no. Other tools, they do break it down by percent and or number, but this one happens to do just percentages. All right, so that was question 2. Moving on now to our next question. And this one I used at ISTE last year. Was it in Philadelphia? Yeah, last year was in Philadelphia. So if you recognize that famous landmark. And the point here, too, is to show you that it is quite easy to put in images. It doesn't have to be just text. And sometimes the image helps tell the story. And I'll be showing you how we put those images in. They get resized automatically for you, so you can just find them on the web. So this one does have a correct answer. The correct answer is C. That's why it's green. And Liberty Bell is the answer. I'm glad that somebody chose A, because it shows you then that it's red. So anything that would be red would be an incorrect answer. And you can choose to have more than one possible right answer. And that's sometimes students think, oh, there's only one right answer there. Well, no, there might be a couple of them that are right answers. So you'll see when we build the questions in a little bit how you have the ability to choose multiple right answers if need be. And now on to the next one. This is a different style question. All right, the question is, which state is hosting the annual ISTE conference this year? You can see my map gives you a little hint with the highlighted state. And let's see, I want to hide answers here. So this is a short answer, and it is going to be graded automatically, which is unique. Sometimes when you have an open-ended response, it doesn't grade automatically. This one will. And with my little explanation, I believe I said, isn't it nice that you could type in either the state abbreviation, the two-letter abbreviation, and uppercase and lowercase doesn't matter, or you could type in the entire word.
Did you set it up that way?
I set it up that way, yes. I had two acceptable correct answers, and they were going to be either CO or Colorado. Now, I can show you, this is kind of neat too. I can show you, this is how everybody responded. But if you're wondering, well, who are the people, let's say, who said Hawaii? I can actually show that by hitting this button here that says show it, and now you can see the names showing it there. Now, let's say somebody put something in inappropriate, and I need to quickly get that off the radar. I can say, ooh, we don't want to see that one. So I can hide that individually on the right-hand side if there was something maybe inappropriate there that you had to hide. Now, I taught middle school, so that was the reason why I thought about that. But you know, it only takes one teachable moment for someone to do that. So that is a way to do that, to hide and show answers on the right-hand side. But here you could say hide or show all answers, and hide or show all names. And they're selectable, so you could say I only want to see answers, or I only want to see names, or I want to see both. And then you can do that kind of thing. All right, so that is, do I have another question here? I think I do. All right, another image one. This is a true-false question. Actually, a true-false or an I don't know question. Oh, sure. And so we have 8 out of 8 have answered. We hit how did we do? And our answer, very good. It's unanimous. 100% of the class has it right. And it is false. And it is Tim Berners-Lee, I think in my explanation I put there, right, that invented the World Wide Web around 1989 or so, the commercial World Wide Web, before it was used by military purposes. So I believe I am all finished with my questions, because there's no more next button. So now when I hit finish, it asks me, what do I want to do next? Do I want to get a report, which then I can download and look at on the screen? Do I want to view a chart, which is a newer, well, newer as a couple years ago. I like the view chart feature because it doesn't involve any downloading, especially if I'm doing this from like a Chromebook and I don't want to deal with downloading. Or just take me back to the dashboard and maybe I'll look at the results during my planning period later. So I'll do the middle one, view chart, so you can see what it looks like. And this color-coded option is nice. The first two were subjective, so I was asking for your opinion. That's why there's no right or wrong. But then questions 3, 4, and 5 did have correct answers. Color-coded, of course, green is correct, red is incorrect. Percentages of, so question 3, 75% of the class got it, but then I could look across the row and I could say it looks like, all right, Kelly got 100%, you can see it's all the way across there. If you get one wrong, in this case, because there's only 3, it ends up being 67%. And I can even search this list, maybe I had, a class of 30 students. If it was really something I wanted to sort it by A to Z or Z to A, I could do it that way. I can also sort by progress or score. Progress meaning how much our completion rate of finishing it. So if this was a long event and it took 25 minutes to do, I could probably switch it to progress and I would look and see, all right, most of the class is done, or it looks like I need to give them more time. So that would be going by progress % done versus the overall score of being done. Yes?
Well, if you have multiple classes where you're teaching the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
will it save that in there so when I go back to my planning period, I can look for that class if I want to use it as a quiz grade?
It'll say it based on the time that you launched it.
Okay.
So I always think of like, all right, third period started at 10:05. I would look for the one on that day at 10:05.
Okay, and you could have the same presentation multiple times, and
Yes.
it'll save it, okay.
Yep, every single one you do, all the way back from probably 5-6 years ago when I was using this, it's all saved in here
Okay.
for me. Yep. And you never run out of space. There's no limit to how many sessions you can save. All right, so I'm going to hit exit. That takes me back to the dashboard. And I can still see that 8 of you are in the room right now, the virtual room, by that symbol right up at the top there. So if I needed to, this always happened for me, I use the same devices period after period. I wanted to wipe off everybody, make sure they're not logged in anymore, so the next class that came in was starting off fresh and not using someone else's login. There's one button up here you can hit under settings that says clear room, and that essentially would wipe everybody out and force you then to log in again. So that's something good to remember if you're using the same devices period after period with kids, especially in a secondary level setting. So now that you've experienced Socrative from the teacher standpoint, I have some other events we're going to do. Some students will be in the driver's seat, meaning you guys will just go question after question on your own.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Are the quiz results saved?
Yes, they are saved. Probably, I was going to cover that later, but I'll cover it now. That makes sense to do that. They are saved when you go to Manage Quizzes. And then you would go here to Reports. And the default is going to be recent, so there's the one we just did at 10:11 a.m. So that must be at the time of launching it, I believe. Not the completion of it, but the time you launched it. And then going backwards in time, they're all listed here. I can say all, and that would show everything I've done, and it keeps going when you reach the bottom for years that I've been doing this. Even back, 2013 it's going back to. So all of it's there. They never go away unless you hit archive, which means you take it off the dashboard, but you don't actually delete it. It's still there under the archived reports area. Maybe I'm looking for something specific, like you'll be doing today a space race, which is kind of like a gamified approach. If I know that I did something in a space race, I could filter it down to that. Exit tickets, we'll do those today as well. If I'm looking for the exit ticket from last week Thursday, I could easily jump there and then find the appropriate date and time and look at the results there. So it is handy that it does that because you don't always have time while you're teaching to look at those results right on the spot. You might look at it, after school or during the planning period or over lunch or something like that. So I like the fact that it saved it automatically. There's nothing I had to remember to do in order to save those results. And then if you needed to export them out, which I typically would do to put it in the gradebook, you can export it out into a spreadsheet format, and then you can arrange the columns the way that you want, and sort things out more specifically when it's in a spreadsheet. Does that answer your question then? You're welcome. So that's a great thing that it saves it for you automatically. All right, so next thing I want to talk about then is getting you guys signed up if you're not signed up already. The procedure is very simple. You're just going to Socrative.com and you're going to hit teacher login. And if you have not signed in, of course, before, at that point it's going to prompt you to register. The registering process takes, let's see, here it is right here. It just takes a couple of fields to fill in. They do want you to sign up with a school-based email account. I believe it gets approved automatically, though. It's not like they're manually looking to see if you're really a teacher or not. But if you put it with your school email address, then if they had to, check later down the road if this is a fake account or not, they'd be able to see if it was a teacher at the school district. So take a few moments and sign up for Socrative if you'd like. I believe they'll send you a welcome email that has, like videos and things like that for a new user to check out when you're doing that. All right, I'll give you a few moments to do that while I look at the next piece here.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
Are these all quizzes and different things that you create as a teacher, or are they pre-created? Is that a silly question?
No, there are things that I've created, but if I wanted to teach something on fractions, I could search online and just type in Socrative fractions, and I'd probably come across many different
Ones that are already created?
ones that are made already. Yes, and what you would get then is the code, which, like my yellow code right there, it'd be an 8-digit number? Yeah, an 8-digit number that you plug in.
Okay.
Um,
But then you mentioned you can modify the ones that.
Correct. It'll make a copy of it. Like you won't be messing around with their original. It'll make a copy of it for you that you own, just like how you did the Google Docs, same idea, where I made it, but then you'd made a copy of it, and now you can change it.
Okay.
Same concept here with that.
Okay.
Yep. And a little bit later, I will be showing us how to plug in those numbers when you find one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just to mention here in my outline, I have a link that shows you the apps that you can install. Now keep in mind, apps are not necessary because this is completely web-based, so all you need is a browser. But many teachers find that it is easier if they are in a, say, a Chromebook or an iPad environment with tablets or even smartphones, to just have one button that you can touch to launch it. So if you wanted to, you could install the Socrative app, either the Teacher Orange one or the Blue Student one, from these app stores. And they have actually 5 different app stores, so they cover the gamut of whatever brand of device that you have. Totally optional. It's just a quick shortcut to get there. Kind of think of it like a bookmark, if you will. But there's nothing special you get by running the app versus running it in the browser. So it's just an extra step if you wanted to have that app ecosystem in your classroom. All right, now we're going to look at the 2 presentation modes. The on-the-fly mode, where there's no preparation needed. So to do this, let's see, I need all of you guys in the room, so let's make sure everybody's in, and I see only one is in right now. So let's get you back in as a student, because I just had you play the role of a teacher. Go back to Socrative.com and log in as a student, and go into my room of Rob Z. And once you guys are in, we're going to do a on-the-fly type of event, where we don't have to prep anything in advance. We can just use it to gather information. All right, we're just about there. So I'm going to launch now the part that says quick question. And I get, as a quick question, 3 styles I can do. I can do a multiple choice, a true false, or a short answer. So let's do one of each. I'll start with a multiple choice, and I'll come right up with this on the fly. By default, it just gives you 5 choices. I'm going to ask you, let's pretend that you had a 3-ring binder in front of you that had questions on it. Therefore, I can just say, look at question 1 in your notebook. It's asking you, what is the state capital of New York State? A is Albany, B is Boise, C is California, D is Delaware, and E is Edwardtown. So go ahead and answer which one you think is the state capital of New York. And I can see instantly we got our answer up there, and therefore I know that everybody has had their voice. If I ask this to raise your hand, you might get people influenced by other people, like, oh, most people are raising their hand. Okay, I'll raise my hand too. You avoid that by doing it non-verbally and non-showing each other what each person is answering. I didn't ask you to log in, by the way, so know that it did. I don't think it didn't ask your name, right? Right. So this is completely anonymous. So the advantage here is it's quick, no prep needed. But the disadvantage is, and that's why I put it in my outline there, I can't later on look at the results. It's just for a quick formative assessment on the fly. Later on, there's no results to analyze, but it's quick. I'll launch a true/false now, and I'll say this: Obama's 3rd term will start this next January. True or false? And there you go. It's like instant. As soon as I say true or false, I saw a second or two later, we had 100% participation. 8 out of 8 had answered. And there's a quick on-the-fly type of thing. So again, no prep needed. You can just do it right on the fly. Now I'll go to the short answer one. This one is interesting because there's a little bit more features you can do here. The question here is going to be, and I have to choose some things. I could type it in on the screen if I wanted to, but I'm just going to verbally say it to save time. I'm going to let everybody do this just once, and I'm not going to even ask for your names because I don't need it for this. So I'll hit start. All right, so the question is, what is the #1 app or website you couldn't live without? Just give me one. #1 app or website that you couldn't live without. So submit that one response. Now I'm gonna, let's see, hide names. Yeah, hide names I can do because they're all anonymous. All right, now this typically happens. I'll get some repeats in there. All right. So now we're going to do part 2 of this. I want you to vote on one that is not your own. And for me to do that, there's a button here. Where is it? Right there it is. Start vote. So I'm going to say start a vote. So we've just brainstormed a list. Now we're going to quantify that list. So vote on one that is not your own. And 6 out of 6, 7 out of 7. All right, so that should be everybody. So if we look at it now, Pinterest comes up at 75%. There might be another one listed, like Google is listed here, but there's other Googles listed. So this really works best when there's unique responses up there, but it's hard to ask a question where everyone in the room comes up with an exact different answer. But if you had to add 2 or 3 together, you could to get your results. So I've done this for, what's your favorite pizza topping? What should be the best test question on Friday's quiz? Anything at all that you want to get student feedback from, brainstorm a big list, and then quantify that list, and the kind of what rises to the top is what most people would agree on. So it's a 2-part kind of thing that you can do with one of these quick questions for a short answer. So I think that's a pretty neat feature. I've used it for a variety of different things over the years there. And since I'm done with it now, I click the finish button, and I'll go back to the dashboard. All right, so that's our on-the-fly, no prep needed, but there's no auto-grading and there's no recording of the information. So now we'll switch over to the other mode, which I call is quiz mode. You did it already when we did the intro quiz in the beginning, but now I have one on digital citizenship. Let's see, I'll launch that one again with a teacher paste example. So I'm going to start a quiz. I have it loaded in from before. I'll do a teacher paste, and I'm going to leave it least restrictive, so you'll be able to, I won't even collect your username. I don't even need that. All right, so question number 1, there we go. It popped up on your screens. Go ahead and answer that one. All right, everybody answered, so now I reveal it, and there you go. A lot of people do say all of these are correct, thinking you shouldn't share any of that stuff. But as the explanation shows you here, it is safe to share some information about yourself, such as your first name is fine, because the first name is not personally identifiable, but not the last name. And then your achievements and talents. We want students to have positive digital footprints so that later down the road they can showcase the great things they did when they were in 8th grade with this project that they spent a lot of time on. So that's out there on the web. But the address is not there. We don't want to personally identify somebody, especially when it's a K through 12 student. So the actual one there is B is the correct answer. And it was a 50-50 mix on that one. So see, when it's teacher paced like this, it's good, because then we can have conversations about misconceptions right as they happen. Next one is about cyberbullying. And those of you in the room that do have a cell phone, if you want, you can use that in addition to or in place of the desktop, just so you get that experience of working from a mobile platform in addition to a desktop platform. Because in most of our classrooms, that's probably what it would be like for the kids, is to use mobile devices as opposed to computer lab situations. All right, we got all 8 have answered. We reveal the results, and very good. 100% unanimous. Everybody got it. Choice B is the right answer. Next question is about fishing with a P. All right, reveal our responses. 100% unanimous. Everybody has it. Choice A is the right answer. Next one is about strange email messages. And the pictures are optional. You don't have to have a picture in, but I kind of like doing that for each one. I think it makes it more memorable when a child can associate the picture with the information they're learning in the question. And see, I could tell someone in the room must have done the cell phone idea like I was just mentioning, because now there's 9 students in the room. So that number dynamically will increase, as well as the number, oh, you can't see it because I scrolled up, but right here it shows you the total number of people in the room. So now I see 9 out of 9 have answered. I can reveal it. And there you go. Someone wants to send it to the IT staff. I'm part of the IT staff, so I don't want to handle all those hundreds of emails. I just want teachers to know the right way to do it. Just simply delete it without opening it. Most likely, if it's important, it will get resent. Or you can reach out and contact the person that supposedly sent it to see if they actually did send it. All right, and that takes us to the end of that quiz event there. So when I hit finish, again, I'm presented with either viewing it right on the spot, viewing that nice chart view, or just saying skip it and I'll take a look at it later. So that was the teacher paste. Next one I'm going to do is a student paste example. So any math teachers in the room? All right, you guys have a slight advantage on this one here. So the math quiz that I'm going to launch is going to be student-paced, and it's that one. Now I get two modes of student-paced. The first one says immediate feedback. In this case, students receive immediate right or wrong feedback after each question. They can't move around forwards and backwards or skip or change answers. All right. The other way to do it is where students do have the ability to navigate through it, like go backwards and forwards. So it depends on what your goal is to do between those first two choices. I'll do this one so that I can look at all the results on a live progress table. Let's see. I don't need student names. I'll randomize it because you're sitting next to each other and you might have a tendency of wanting to cheat and looking at each other's screens. I'll even randomize the answer order. Choices A, B, C, D, E will be shuffled. Let's see. I won't disable the student feedback. I'll let you look at the results, and I'll let you look at your results there. All right, so now that I launched it, on your screens, it should take you right to the first question, and everybody has a different first question. As I'm looking around, I can see that it's all randomized, which is good when it's a situation like this and we can all see each other's screens. And I'm live monitoring the progress here, and I can see most people are about 3/4 of the way done, and we got a couple people done. And it puts even a little check mark there to let me know as the teacher where everybody's at in the progress of completion. And it fills in the chart for us. Green is correct, red is incorrect. So you can look across the row for a student or down a column for the actual question. If I needed more information, like it looks like a bunch of you got choice or question number 1 wrong, I could click on one. It'll jump in and show it to me so I could see more information. And then I can go back to the table again. So that as live as it's happening, I could have this off so the class is not seeing the screen. And I could be going through and seeing how students are doing as it's happening instead of just waiting at the very end.
Even though we got them in different orders, it puts them all in the same order for the results.
Correct. That's right, because it was all shuffled. I saw some of you were filling in number 4 before it was filling in number 1. So yes, it was doing it. So that it makes sense for the teacher when they're looking at the results table. All right, so that was an example of a student paste, and I get the data there in the nice live table as it's happening. Next one is we're going to do now an exit ticket. How many of you have done an exit ticket method in your class? Most likely on paper, right? Paper. So this is the electronic version of the paper exit ticket. So the question it's going to say what's your answer to the teacher's question? My question to you today is, I had it in here, what's impressed you the most at the conference today? So that's the question on the board, is what's impressed you the most? So for me, it's a 1-button launch. I simply hit exit ticket, and it launches it for you. Now, it will ask you for your name. That's an automatic thing. And my live table is populating as you're typing in your names. And again, the question is, what's impressed you the most at the conference?
Not what did I learn? Oh, is that the third one?
Yeah, it's a third one, yeah. One's a quantifier, one is, what did you learn? And then I think the last question is, answer the teacher's question on the board. Yeah. All right, about half the class is done. I can see the check marks there indicating that they finished them up. So I'm going to click on the second column, and that lets me look at a glance of how everybody responded to the what did you learn in class today. As a teacher, of course, this could be very telling at the end of your lesson to look and see, all right, I was teaching complementary angles today, and did they get it? And the 90 degrees, they both add up. That may help there. And then in the third column, this is about the teacher's question, and my question of the day was, what's impressed you the most about the conference so far? So that's an open-ended. Again, no right or wrong answers here because it's open-ended. But then the first one is the one where you're going to quantify how well did you understand the material today. And by me looking at this, based on these self-evaluations, it looks like most people in the room are leaving today feeling comfortable that the information I presented, they're able to understand, and it made sense. So that's another way to gauge the level of understanding according to the students. It's an opinion-based thing at the end of a course or of a session. So I will go to finish, and I'll move us on now to the next thing, which is the fun space race. So this is where the gamification comes into play. Doing any science teachers in the room? Chemistry teachers specifically? We're going to talk about the periodic table. All right, so here's what I do. The button that I hit, let me go back to the dashboard so you can watch what I did here. Of our 4 main buttons so far, we've used all 3 except this one. So here's the one we're going to use now, the space race. And I have to start by selecting the quiz. And for me, it's the one periodic table. We're going to do that one. And number of teams. Now, teams means they could be silent teams or actually talking out loud teams. In this case, you're going to be silent teams. You're going to be paired up with others in this room who you might not even know who your teammates are unless you were to look and see what color you've been randomly assigned. So I'm going to say in a room like this, let's go with 4 teams. So 4 different teams. Now I have a choice about auto-assign or student select. I got to explain this one. Auto-assign means it'll just randomly say, all right, blue team, red team, purple team, and just do it randomly. That might work if you just need the results up there quickly. But what if you wanted to say, I want a high-level student paired with a low-level student, and you yourself know who they are? You might want to do that technique and then choose the one that says student select teams, and then you as a teacher could walk around and say, all right, you're going to choose red and you're going to choose red. You're going to do blue and you're going to do blue. So then the students don't really know why you're doing that. You know that it's because you're trying to pair high and low level kids together. But those are your options that you have with it, either randomly or manually selecting them. So because I don't know everybody's levels, I'll just do an auto-assign teams. It'll be the luck of the draw. And they even give you the ability, used to be just a rocket, now you can choose between a bear, bicycle, bee, unicorn, or spaceship. So we'll choose the unicorn today. That'll be our little character that goes across the screen. So let me think here. Disable student feedback. Nope. I want you to get feedback, so I'm going to leave it so you do see your information if you got it right or wrong. And disable student results. I want you to see your results right when you're doing it. All right. So I hit start, and on your screen, I believe it first asks you for your name, because this will keep track of how everybody does. And then after that, you'll have a bar at the top of your screen. So like I could see, I saw green here and green there. So these 2 ladies are the green team. And you'll know, like, here's purple at the top of her bar there, so she's, you guys are. You have an orange color, and there's an orange color here. So it just does it randomly like that. And so far, the blue team is really in the lead here.
Not my thing.
Now, the blue team is in the lead. It does not indicate to us who got there first. So me as the teacher, I have to watch the live screen to know who is really in first place. And right now it might be the blue team, but the lime team is following. And the peach team just jumped ahead. It only moves forward every time you get a correct answer. If you get an incorrect answer, it just simply doesn't move your little symbol. And it looks like the blue team just got it in first place. We may have a tie for second. It's between the lime and the peach team. And the other thing, too, is I don't know when to call it quits because I don't know when everybody's done taking it. So I kind of have to look around the room and see if you've completed all the questions. Looks like we're still going, though. We'll see some questions up there. Looks like the peach team is leading our second place spot, followed by the lime team. Oh, but there, magenta just jumped up.
That's what I thought I did. We finished. That's what matters.
All right, is everyone finished? Everyone's finished. All right, so there is our results. The first place is blue. They get the candy bar of the day. Imaginary here, of course. Peach is second place, and there's a tie for third place. So it doesn't, the one thing I wish it did was like indicated like first or like amount of time that it took to get across, but as of now it doesn't have that. So you just have to watch up there, and the students, as you can imagine, are also watching up there as they're answering to see this more gamified approach. So this was like a big deal years ago when only Socrative was out. Now what I'm about to show you, the next service, Kahoot, it kind of puts this to shame a little bit because Kahoot is very engaging, very highly competitive, which makes it very motivating for kids. So let me just finish off Socrative here with my last couple of things. I showed you how to analyze results. To create a brand new quiz, it's very straightforward. You go to the Manage Quizzes area, and you go to Create Quiz, and now you're presented with a name for that quiz. Notice it by default sharing is turned on. That would be the 8-digit number that we could share with people. And then we start with a multiple choice question. If I have a picture, I can add it from my hard drive. So imagine I had one on the desktop, I could choose it. And your question goes here. Your choices go here. If A is the correct answer, I just check the box there. If I wanted even more formatting options, because maybe I want to do bold, underline, italics, or math people might want the exponents up there, you can turn on the optional formatting there by toggling that switch. And then when you're done with that question, you just simply hit what's next, either another multiple choice, another true false, or a short answer. The short answer ones, I have to delete this one though to get to that. The short answer ones give you the option then to put in correct answers. Like the one I did with Colorado, remember that one? I put in the word Colorado and then I put in another one and I had CO. So you could have multiple correct answers as long as they spell it right. It can be auto-graded. And I like to have stuff auto-graded. I don't want to have to go back and grade, having it at the time I had 180 kids on my roster. I don't have to go back and grade 180 short responses. So I tried to use the correct answers piece there, even though it is optional, whenever I would do the short answer style. All right, so does that make sense? Instead of me going through and making one, does that workflow, everybody's got that? Okay. So it's pretty straightforward to do that. I have to just exit out by saying save and exit. Delete quiz. Okay, so that's a process to make it. Other advanced features here up under the settings area. If we go under my profile, that is the place where you get to choose your room name. It has to be unique, so nobody else, no other Socrative user has chosen it. You put in a room name. When you hit submit, if it's allowed to stay, then it'll just stay right in there. This is a place also you would change your password. What else can you do? You just a little bit of information about yourself and your school, and that is the profile page. All right, so we'll cancel that. And I think I can move on now. We demonstrated the steps. Clearing the room, I showed you, and the SOC codes. If you have an SOC code, one of those unique codes, the place you would use that is here under Import a Quiz, and that is where you would plug in that 8-digit number that you have from somebody else, and then it makes a copy for you. They actually also have Excel. You can download an Excel template, and then in Microsoft Excel, with a spreadsheet program, you can put in the questions and choices there if you want. I've done that before, but I feel like it's just, their interface is so nice, it's just easier to just stay right on the web platform and not deal with uploads and downloads. But it is there for those people that maybe are more comfortable working with Excel, and maybe they want to put in a whole bunch of questions all in one shot. That might be a quicker way to do it if you're more familiar with Excel. All right, so any questions on Socrative before I move on to the next tool, the next brand of tool? Okay, moving on now to Kahoot. Kahoot is an Italian company because it ends in IT, and I didn't realize that Kahoot.it, I thought that was just a creative name, but IT is actually Italy, so it's an international company that has created it. That came into be a problem at Oakfield at our district because they blocked all websites coming from Italy. I don't know why. There must have been hacking or spamming or something going on with anything ending in a .it. So when my teachers, I showed them this on the first day in September back to school, they all wanted to try it and they were like, it's blocked, we can't get to it. So we unblocked it, but we discovered that's what IT means, is actually Italy. So if you run into that same issue and you're dealing with BOCES doing your web filtering, that's just something to note, to check it first. There's two websites though. There's getkahoot.com. That's where you would go to create your account and to sign in as the teacher. But when you're a student, you don't go here. You go to kahoot.it, and in a few moments I'll have you do that. So watch my workflow now. I'm going to show you the sign-in process as a teacher here. So getkahoot.com. I've already logged in with my username and password, so it jumps right into it here. And I am going to launch my Kahoots, one of the ones that I've started already. I'll do the triangle one. I did this one for a robotics unit that I did. So if I click right on the title of it, there's 14 questions total. I'm going to hit play. There is sound involved on this too, so you hear some music. Now there's a new feature here, as you can see by the purple banner. Classic mode or team mode. Classic mode is in a one-to-one scenario, everybody has a device like we have here. But let's say we're in the mode where only a couple kids brought in their devices to school and we have to pair people up. You can have kids, cluster together in groups, and maybe the class of 20 has 5 cell phones in the class, so there's going to be 4 kids on a team. So they added that as a new feature. I'm just going to stick with the classic mode for now. Some of our options. display game pin throughout. I'm going to say yes, because maybe someone walks in the middle of this and they want to join up with us. Show minimized intro instructions, that we don't need. That's essentially just tells them how to get onto the game. Randomize, I'll say no, because we haven't done this one before. Randomize answers, don't need it. Play music while waiting, I'll say sure, we'll get that. And then advanced options, I don't want it to move automatically because I want to control the pace myself so that I can make sure we're understanding the question before I move on. Don't want you to rejoin after each one, and we don't have to deal with any Wi-Fi information in this case. So I'll hit go. And now this is the screen that you will be sharing with your students, and it tells you what to do right at the top there. So you're going to open up a new tab in your browser here and go to kahoot.it. And you'll be asked to put in a game pin. And the game pin is 554615. It's a unique pin. It always changes, so it's not something you can write down. It's always going to change every time you launch it. And let's see what else here. So as the students are joining in, I always tell my kids, make sure you're doing first name, last name. Because if you don't, if I use it for a grade, I'm not going to know who Jamie is. Is it Jamie S or Jamie P or Jamie H? You know, which person is it? So I always tell them do first name, last name. But as you can imagine, it tells you on the screen, put your nickname in, and oh, my nickname is Skaterboy57. You know, that doesn't help when it comes to identifying who is who. So if that did happen, all right, I'm going to do this to one person here because I don't know who RMT is. Let's pretend that even that's like a swear word or something bad on the screen. When I click on that, notice it's gone. Now I can actually walk around the room and say, who was that? Oh, it's the red screen. So without even the teacher saying anything, the teacher walks around and sees it and says, okay, that was the student. So we'll talk to that child in class or something like that. So she can go ahead and sign back in again, put in another name there. It'll still let her continue.
Because my name is Renee, so should I cancel you?
All right, we have 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so we're good. So we got, now that I know we got all 8 in, I can hit start, and I believe her screen will change and won't be red anymore. So that's just in the opening segment. Now you got to watch up here. This is different. Everybody's eyes are up here. All right, this is question 1, and here goes the time. You're going to choose the box on your screen that matches that. You can go by color, and see I didn't stop it, it automatically stopped when either everybody answered or the time ran out, whichever happens first. And after you responded on your screen, it didn't show you what you responded because you can look at each other's screens, right? So it quickly hides it. So, and because it's very competitive, watch what's going to happen now. When I go to next, I can see that our first place person right now is Jamie. Not necessarily because she had just the right answer, but because she also answered the quickest. The question is worth 1,000 points right off the bat. When the timer goes down, the point value is going down as well. At the very last second, if you answer, it's only worth 500 points, so it's half as much. So this is going not just right or wrong, but it's also going how quick you are to answer. That can be concerning for some people because it's like, well, I'm going to grade them right or wrong. I don't care about how quickly they answer. So in the grade book, I put down the number right versus the number overall, and I just do right or wrong, regardless of how long it took. So they know that what's going in the grade book is just right or wrong. But for fun, you know, the person that wins the candy bar is going to be the person that responds the quickest. So you're kind of grading 2 things simultaneously that way. The pressure's on to stay with it and try to get your answer up there, but you're not going to be penalized grade-wise if you just take a long time to answer. Because it always comes up with a child that takes longer to read. We don't want to penalize them for that. So the reason why this is now very competitive is as we go through it, you're going to see feedback on your screens of where you stand compared to other people. And if you knew each other in the room, this is what happens with kids. They'll say, Jamie, I'm 5 points behind you, or Jason, I'm catching up to you, you're next, I'm going to get you this next one. So as a teacher, don't feel like you can then quiet everybody and like everybody listen to me. Know that you're going to be struggling. You're going to be trying to get your voice above theirs because they're going to be engaged and very excited about it. So it's a good thing, but just know that ahead of time because the more the kids know each other, the more competitive naturally that they're going to be with it. So here comes question 2. The idea is everyone can't be looking down at their screen. They have to be looking up in the front. And this is where your information comes from. So you have color-coded answers or shape-coded answers. For anybody that's colorblind, that's why they do that. And see, different music because there was a different amount of time I set on that one. I think that was a 20-second question. And you're going to notice with the music, based on how fast the pace is, whether you have a lot of time to answer or not. There's one in here I made that you only have 10 seconds to answer. And it's very fast-paced music. But then there's another where you have a full minute to answer. And it's a very slow melody there. So just by listening to the music, that clues you in on how quickly you have to respond. So we have most people got it right, one person got it wrong. If I reveal now our top, it always shows the top 5, regardless of how many people are in here. By the way, we did this in an 8th grade assembly for the geography bee, where we had 800 kids in the audience, and they all had their phones. So I had like 650 people playing the game. There's no limit to how many you can do. But it only shows the top 5 each time, but everybody out there in the audience knows where they stand because of what they see on their screen. So again, I might be selling this one more than Socrative, but this one has that element of gaming that kids are really into. All right, question number 3. And we probably won't have time to get through all 14 of them, but we'll try. Oh, see, slower. The music is slower. It's because you have more time to think. And isosceles is the correct answer. Most everybody but 2 got that one right. And then our top scoreboard. And see, Pam is catching up to Jamie there. That's only one question could make the difference because you get 1,000 points right off the bat if you get it right. The moment you get one wrong, it takes you right off that top 5. So that's another thing too, why you see a lot of shifting around of results. It's not always the same kids up at the top. It does change as you go. And there's a spread. We had everybody chose all different answers here. The majority got it right, but there was still some mixes there. And if I needed to call the image back up again, notice it has the button because maybe the picture was important in this case. In this case, it's not, but in some questions, it is important. Now you get to choose the pictures yourself, but you don't have to. If you leave that out, they put a generic branding logo on there of Kahoot, so you don't have to put pictures in, but it does kind of spice it up a little bit and makes it more unique. And now we have Renee at the top of our list there in first place. So see, it will change as we go. This is probably a quick question. Watch how quickly this music plays. We only have 10 seconds on that one. So when you build your questions, and good, it was unanimous. I knew that would be an easier question, so I made less time. You don't get to say how many seconds because they have certain tracks of music, but I think the lowest is 10, and the most is 2 minutes. And it's like 10, 30, 60, 90, 120.
Is it all where you select the correct answer?
Or
Or are there any where you go over another? Like, would you have to type in
no,
90 degrees?
no, they would all be multiple choice. And you can have as little as 2 choices, 3, or 4 choices. And you can have multiple of them be correct as well. It doesn't have to be just one right answer. And there's our standings. Here's the next one. And see, this one I gave some time on because there's a lot to read there, so I gave us 60 seconds on that one. But we got that within 5 seconds. Now notice too, I'm not touching anything to stop the question. It automatically moves on when everybody in the room has answered or when the time runs out, whichever happens first. So it automatically knows when to move to the next phase. And good, that was unanimous. Everybody's got it there. Let's do maybe one more, and then I'll show you how to put these things together. And on the right-hand side, it says how many people have answered. I think we're looking for 8 or 9 people in the room that are going to answer. And there we go. So all 8 have answered. And green hypotenuse is the right answer. All right, so I'm going to now end quiz down here. When you do end it, it shows you the top score with all the points. All right, so let's hear it for Renee. And now the feedback and results. This now gives you a chance to tell me, the teacher, what you thought of this event. So give it a rating. I think it's a 5-star rating. That's how that works. If you think it was a learning event or not, you would recommend it to other students or not, and how you currently are feeling, which probably has something to do with how well you performed on it. And all of this data is being collected in a spreadsheet type sheet tied to your name, so I can look through it and see, if you say you feel really bad right now, I can check, well, is that because he or she didn't do so well on it? It shows the individual results, so if I go to final results, I can look at them under let's see. I can either save it to Google Drive, which I like to do, because then it's a Google spreadsheet, or I can download it as an Excel spreadsheet. So either or, that's how you would download it and look at the results that way. They don't really have it looking online like Socrative had, unless you consider looking at it in Google Drive as a method to look at it on the screen.
Will it show the results like it's showing on our screen for every child?
Yes.
Students?
Yes. Yep. And everybody will be a row, and it'll show all of them there. Yep. Ghost mode. This is something newer. Ghost mode would be this. Let's say there was time left in the period, and I was like, oh, there's an extra 10 minutes here before the bell rings. I would run it again and let all of you play again. But now you're playing against the ghosts of yourself. So now there would not be 8 people in the game, there would be 16 people in the game. And it remembers the data from how you answered before. So if Renee answered question 1 in 6 seconds, it's going to simulate her answering again in 6 seconds. But then she is live in the room answering as well. So the goal is to see if you can beat your ghost score. Kind of a neat concept. So now you doubled the amount of people in the room. There's the old results and the new live results blended together in what they call ghost mode. You can also use that to have one class play against another class. So when second period comes in, we could say, let's play this ghost mode and see how you guys do compared to how they just did in first period. And now you have students playing each other from another class in an asynchronous manner, which is really kind of mind-blowing, which is neat how they put that together. These could be played also as an individual, as just a child playing on their own for homework or for fun. I've had students make these and then send the link to their classmates to take them. So if I go back to the dashboard here, let's see, take this out full screen. Back on the dashboard, this is where you get to share it out through all these different social media platforms. You could email someone the link, or there's the actual link right there, and you can play it on your own. You don't have to be with the class to play it. So this is a great way for students to do kind of test prep in a fun way, where they get to make the study guide and then have their fellow classmates take it. So I'm going to wrap it up here by showing you how I create a Kahoot. The purple button in the upper left-hand corner is the place where you start, where it says New K. And they have 3 different modes. I've only used the first one, which is a quiz, where there's right or wrong answers. But if you want to do something more for just a survey, where it's just opinion-based, you could do a discussion or a survey. It would kind of look the same, it just wouldn't mark any right or wrong answers. But I think to get the full effect, it's good when you have right or wrong answers for kids to be able to get points for based on if they're right. So I'm going to click on quiz. This is the new, I don't know if you saw on the last screen I was on there. Let me go back to it. I'm looking at the new style. Up at the top here, I opted into it. They've redesigned their test maker tool. It's not fully baked yet. It's still in beta. That's why they're letting people try it out first. So what I'm trying here might be different from what's on your screen if you don't have the new the banner up top here. But they're letting me test out the new style. I like what they've done so far. It really does simplify a lot of the different fields. So I could call this my sample 1, 2, 3. If I wanted to give a description, let's say for our 4th period math class. If I wanted to add an image, I could drag and drop something from the desktop. I don't think I have to, though. I can leave that empty. Visible to everyone, meaning everyone on Kahoot that has an account, so other teachers to share it with. English, of course, we select for what we're using for, and this is being used all over the world, not just in K-12 schools. In fact, I think the idea came up really corporate boardrooms to really spice things up for business presentations. But we can choose that. Credit resources is where they're allowing you to put in any links to copyright issues. So you can get around copyright issues by saying, I've used this source from discovery.com, this one from abc.com. You can credit your sources there. That's why they put that. And optionally, an intro video that comes from YouTube. So if you have a video that you like to showcase from YouTube, that's what your audience members could be looking at upon signing in. So while they're waiting for their classmates to sign in, they could be watching a YouTube video that's playing at the same time. And it doesn't even have to be the whole YouTube video. You can set a start point and an end point. So maybe it's just a segment of like a 30-minute documentary, and you want to show just 2 minutes of that and have it be looping. So that's a neat way to have a background be a video, and you hear the audio and everything. So neat idea of doing that. So once I got the basic stuff done, you get to adding your questions. So adding the first question, the question would be, let's say, what is today? I can choose from this amount of seconds. Ooh, I even added 5 seconds. I thought it was 10 was the lowest. So anywhere from 5 seconds to 120 seconds. Awarding points means just essentially, are we going to make it competitive? We're going to allow them to do points. Some people get stressed out by that and they just want to say no points, so you could turn it off if you wanted to. Always got to have a minimum of one question, or I'm sorry, one choice. And I'll just do that. And then we'll say Friday. All right, so I did 4 question choices there. And if I wanted to add an image or a video, I can optionally do that. When I'm done with that question, hit next. Well, I got to choose which one is right. And then I hit next. And question 1 is now done. And then the little symbols on the side are to continue editing, duplicate it, or delete it. Or if I say, you know what, shouldn't be 30 seconds, that's an easy one, I'll make it 10 seconds. You can choose it there. This is a drag and drop interface, so as you get your questions in there, you can grab the gray area on the left-hand side and move them accordingly. And that's as simple as that is to create that Kahoot event. So does that all make sense, that workflow, without me having to dig deeper? All right, so once you get into it, you'll see how simple it is. Just go question by question. I tend to have my questions somewhere else already, you know, in a word processing document or a spreadsheet. So you can do copy and paste. You can just copy and paste question by question that way. And let's say you don't want to start from scratch, and you know that there are other teachers out there that have taught something on fractions. You might as well go to then public Kahoots, where there is, what is that, 7 million or 78 million out there. And you could say, I'm looking for something on fractions for schools, and I want it to be a quiz. And I can hit search. It's going to break it down by the most popular. Like I want to, oh, here's a good one. I only want to see ones created by teachers, not by students. So I check that box. And now this one, made 2 weeks ago, has been highly rated. So it kind of got up towards the top. And if you could say, well, I want to see the actual question, so just click right on it, and you can see this one has, this is a 1 question one, so probably a bad example. Let me go back. Let's find one that has a couple of questions here. So this one has 12 questions. So if I click right on the title, it shows me the questions, and I say, oh, I kind of like this. I'm going to go with this one, and then I'll customize it the way I want it. So I'd like to take this one. There's a way to do it, which is I check the box there, and then let me think, is it a drop down? No, that's to play it. How do I make a copy of it? I know there was a way to do it.
Over next where it says duplicate.
Oh yes, there it is. Yep, duplicate. So duplicate it meaning make a copy of it and store that copy in my account, and now I can continue editing that the way that I want to make it. So if you are contributing to the community, you allow yours to be public so that possibly someone else out there says, oh yeah, I like what he or she created, and then you can share it that way. You don't have to though. If it's maybe you're using pictures of your own students in the questions, you probably wouldn't want to make that public, so then you can keep it as private. All right, so that is Kahoot and Socrative, and let me see, team mode we talked about. So that's going to wrap it up for us here, and I think time-wise we're shooting for 11:15. To close it off, just want to remind you guys once again, robztraining.com is where I'm going to post the recording here. In fact, I'm going to stop this now so I don't forget.